This is SoO versus ByUL. In the bottom right, Artosis. His name is SoO.
Thank you, Tasteless.
No problem, man. You got to mix
Who
it up.
is this guy in the bottom left?
In the bottom left, his name is ByUL.
Okay.
I was trying to make Artosis laugh, but he's like blowing his nose in a.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a cold.
He has a little bit of a cold.
Sorry about that, guys. I'm a little bit low on the hype because of that.
It's only because these games are so sick.
I should have washed my hands instead of putting them in my mouth.
Oh, man. Well, let's see how SoO can actually do this time around. You know, he definitely got smashed there in game one, but ByUL really played a very smart and calculated game.
Yeah, like that's how a lot of top-end games can end, is that you get caught droning a little bit too much. And he had 20 drones up, but even if he had 10 drones up, ByUL might have just broken in there anyways.
So since you are sick, Artosis, what are your symptoms, man? Do you have nerd chills?
I had nerd chills all day yesterday.
Yeah?
I think I had a fever last night.
Oh, yeah?
I was a shiver nerd in my bed.
Yeah. Oh, you were a little wiggle nerd.
I slept in some this morning, so I'm feeling a little bit better.
That's
but
good.
Still a little bit sick.
That's good.
That's okay.
We know the only cure for an illness like yours is more sick StarCraft games, Tosis.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But basically, my nose right now looks like it's producing banelings, so that's basically what's going on here. And I move about as slow as an overlord at the moment.
Artosis moves around when he's not on camera right now like a queen off of creep right now.
I'm tippy-toeing.
That's right.
By the way, this was a very quick pool from ByUL, but SoO, it's not that he read it, but he varied his build order and went for a gas and then a pool. So he's actually given himself a very good opener against what it is that ByUL is trying to pull off.
Yeah, this is already starting out to be a different game. Now, things could very well normalize. We're going to have to see exactly how much damage here ByUL is going to be able to inflict onto SoO. Note the course of the Lings here. He's trying to go around these overlords that are here to spot. And just due to the way the larva is functioning, okay, he knows now. Just due to the way the larva is functioning, a lot of times players will over-drone and just not be ready for the attack. And especially in the first few minutes of a StarCraft 2 game, this is really effective.
Yeah, this can do a lot of damage, and with speed about to finish and the Baneling Nest a little bit late for SoO, there's a possibility he loses his hatchery, which would put ByUL into a great spot. But let's see what SoO can do. He scouted it relatively early.
By the way, it's actually subtle, but it's not always an easy call to know if you need to go for the hatchery or go into the main and try to kill drones. So taking out the hatchery is definitely going to be good for ByUL, but it's also saying that he doesn't want to overextend here, because if he tries to go into the main and deal some damage there and it doesn't work, then SoO's in a pretty hefty lead.
Now look at this. He runs into the main base. Banelings are morphing, so when those pop out, he has to run. Yep, there he goes. But he gets a queen. Some of the drones have to be pulled. And he killed that hatchery, let's not forget, which the hatchery is not restarted. His hatchery is going to be finishing pretty soon. So even though he's a little bit down in drones, he's going to be able to catch up easily. Okay,
so he's sending the Banelings all the way out. He's going to be chasing him down towards the bottom left over here. We do have the Banelings nest on the way as well over here for ByUL. He has to avoid those Banelings for as long as possible and not allowing the detonations to get a good deal of equity out of the fight.
Great micro here by ByUL. Like, this is really fantastic what he's done. He's slowed this down a lot. He's picked off one of the Banelings, and if he can pick off another, that is huge.
As you can see here, we have a continued push right now. SoO needs to recoup after those losses that he suffered earlier on here. If he can get the Baneling up here to possibly connect with these Lings, well, I beat me to it. I was going to say if he could get that to connect with the Lings, SoO could really put a lot of damage on his opponent. For the time being, though, it's 23 drones for SoO, 18 for ByUL, but keep in mind, SoO's hatchery at his natural base is going to be a little bit later.
Yeah, having to remake that is a pain, but it's about to finish up here. So I would say overall SoO has done a good job of trying to recover from this, but ByUL executed his build very well. If that had possibly been like a hatchery first, maybe he could have won the game with this opener.
Yeah, very, very true. Ling's now going to come around here. I don't know if there are Banelings on the ramp. A lot of times, Banelings on the ramp, especially if Queens are with him, the Lings just cannot enter there. But he does instead decide to head northbound, at least for a little bit. You want to keep some of the Lings a little bit far out from your opponent's main base, but still with the option to counterattack in.
Yeah.
Especially in ZvZ, but really in almost any matchup with Zerg, the counterattacks are probably one of the strongest points.
Yeah, you're very right about that. Like, if Lings run in at some point in the game, that can just kill somebody. You kill all their drones in their main base. It's just absolutely brutal. So we'll see where they place everything. But we do see some spines up both sides. Try to do some harassment with their Banelings and Lings, but it doesn't look like anyone's going to get any significant damage done.
Okay, the Lings continue to poke in right now. As far as the drone race is going, it's 35-31. Really nice zoning here by SoO to keep the Lings out of that area where the drones could be harmed.
I think that this is a point where everything really normalizes Tasteless. Both of them going up to layer at like the exact same second.
Yeah.
And even adding the Roach Warren. Very much a mirrored game, the same amount of drones within 2 supply on Army. Like, the evolution chambers of 2 gases. Like, this game, you know, we used to say a lot where it's like, okay, these are different build orders in ZvZ, but a lot of times it'll end up at the same spot.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to bring up. Yeah.
Here we are 6 minutes in, and it's like, at the exact same spot.
Yeah, if you were to just walk in and see this game going live, you could easily assume that nothing happened and they were mirrored the entire time. But
yeah, rather than there was a very strong rush that killed a hatchery.
And really, this is the only matchup that truly operates like that, where a lot of stuff can happen and it ends up completely bouncing out as if it never happened at all.
Yeah. Kind of wild to see it like that. Wow.
Whoa,
what am I even watching?
That was so close.
Another Yakety Sax moment right there.
Okay, gets the cancel.
Nice.
Very well done.
Yeah, good moves by ByUL to be able to force that. But it does start it up again right away, and we'll clear these Lings off. Roach is on the way for SoO and for ByUL, as well as that +1 range attack and the Roach speed. But again, this game is so similarly close. I guess the only real difference we have is like, well, it's exactly like the early game, right? Where ByUL is being a little bit more aggressive, and like he killed a hatchery earlier, he forced a cancel here. His hatchery will be a little bit later this time, though.
Okay, well, the Spire is now on the way. ByUL is definitely choosing his tech. However, I don't know if he's going to have the choice to keep this expansion with the pressure that could come out here from SoO. Banelings, Roaches, and at least one Ravager with that army. This may be a little bit too much here for ByUL. When you're taking a Spire, there's definitely a window of time where you're just vulnerable outside of your second base.
Yeah, he's going to have to really spend all of his money right now. He won't have much money for mutas when the Spire does finish up. But if he can hold on and have that Spire tech finish, obviously mutas are pretty good against units that don't shoot up.
Okay, coming up here now, this is going to be a critical moment because the hatchery's almost finished. There would be the possibility of a cancellation, although it seems like SoO definitely erring on the side of caution. He's already down 0-1. If he gets down 0-2, it's going to be very tricky to come back. Yeah. So he's going to have to, even though he has a big ground presence, play a pretty conservative fight, pick the battles he knows he can win if he's going to come out on top in this best of 5.
All right, SoO coming forward right now, putting that pressure on. Great snipe on the Queen to begin, but ByUL has made a ton of units here, and I do not see SoO winning this battle.
Yeah, ByUL is looking really good as far as ZvZ goes. Now, when you do a pressure attack like that there from SoO, especially if you're going to try to take out that other base, just because ByUL's teching doesn't mean he's going to save up all his larvae to make mutas, and that was a very good call by ByUL. So ByUL just musters up a bigger army here on the ground and is now chasing SoO back. Now, will he be able to take out the third base over here? I don't think so, but let's see.
Yeah, with the Queens, the closer rally points, and the spine there, like, it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to. So a few mutas being added in.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought for a second he canceled the Spire.
No, he did.
For some reason, when we looked at the main, I thought that's where it was. Okay, so he's actually now getting 5 Mutalisks on the way here. He may be able to divert attention from that third base.
Yeah.
One advantage, obviously, with go-ahead mutas is that you can hit a main, for instance, draw attention back there, and then occasionally run into the second or the third. A lot of different ways to do it. You really have to treat each case differently. It's really, instinct does come into play here in a ZvZ.
Well, looking at this specific case, it looks like he's going to have to add some spores and then either add lots of queens and go all in or go up to the Hydralisk Den. There's really not a whole lot of other options here.
That's right. He kind of has to commit to ground at this point in time.
Yeah, he can't switch into a Spire or anything like that. So these mutas coming in, already killing off a decent amount of drones, and the queens don't really do enough damage for him to be too scared of them. He can kind of just fly around and continue to deal some damage.
Yeah, if he can take out drones here or there, that's going to be a pretty nice edge over his opponent here. It's now 49 drones to 52, but a lot of these drones are being reproduced for the Mutalisks. that have already taken them out here, and he's going to get some nice connections there, continuing to take out workers. And the damage distribution is such that none of these mutas are really being killed, and we're up to 15 kills now, Artosis.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. This was such a great, kind of snuck in set of Mutalisks, and notice that ByUL behind this is just making roaches, because, the fact that he's forcing these Hydras and he's dealing this damage, if he just macros Hydra behind, or Roach behind this, ByUL should be able to pick up a very easy victory.
Yeah, I think SoO is going to be pretty gimped from here on out. I mean, that's a lot of workers remake. I knew that the mutas were going to kill some drones. I didn't think it was going to kill that many drones.
Yeah, 19 drones is a lot. It's kind of interesting. He just skipped spores pretty much all the way.
Yeah, he just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, it's so, I mean, without any anti-air there, he did lose a lot. Now, SoO is walking out, but he can't do anything. He needs to wait for his Hydralisks, and with Baneling speed on the way, these are great moves by ByUL. This guy is really on top of his game this morning.
Yeah, the next phase after the mutas have been driven out, whether it's because the defense is too strong or they're just too bruised or a combination of the two, a lot of times we see the Zerg player go out and then take out a few overlords to keep the other player in a degree of suspense as far as the movement of in this case, ByUL's army. He actually managed to go in there and kill 3 more drones. I don't know why SoO's having such a hard time. Just against these mutas in general.
It almost feels like he's being really stubborn by making 0 spores. And the thing is, mutas can fly around the spores a lot and still deal fringe damage, but I feel like, some static D as soon as you saw him might have been a better move than losing this many drones, but now we have ByUL getting ready for the attack. He's taken a 4th hatch, and he is just making massive amounts of Banelings.
The mutas are still going to have a very good and important role later on here, because any attention he can divert from the big attack that is no matter what coming, and it looks like it's going to be activated right now with the hatching of those Banelings, that's going to be really good. Now, there are some Hydras over here. Not a ton. If you just look at the overall supplies, they are both maxed out, so it doesn't mean that ByUL should smash him by any measure. The next part that's really where we want to keep our eyes on is as he's remacroing during this fight, and that fight's starting right now.
Okay, let's see what these Banelings can actually get done here. Rolling past, trying to get in on top of these Hydras as well, and clearing out so much. ByUL taking a good first few moments of the fight, but a huge concave here from SoO.
Okay, he's coming in right now. A lot of damage being dished out at this point in time. The muta's moving forward here. The roaches, though, being driven back now. No, 24 roaches on the way right now as he's going to try to reinforce to what it looked like it was about 18 a second ago, hatching here for SoO. But the supply disparity is already becoming apparent at 145 to 174. So that was just phase 1 of ByUL potentially coming to a victory.
Now, SoO does have higher tech. He's making more Ravagers than ByUL has. And that's at least what he's going for. He also does have a few Hydras, so that might help him out in this battle if he micros just right, if he hits some great Corrosive Vials, if he forces ByUL to retreat in areas that he doesn't really want to. So SoO, I don't want to count him out completely, but I really feel like ByUL has this entire game outplayed him.
I couldn't agree more, Artosis. He's really, certainly he can come back, but he's up against the ropes, man. We have ByUL coming in here now. It looks like the second poke will occur. Will SoO be able to keep this hatchery? I'm not entirely clear on that. Right now, ByUL definitely with a much stronger army. SoO beginning to catch up, but a lot of that army is in eggs right now.
Ooh, a sloppy beginning of engagement there for ByUL, losing 3 Ravagers for absolutely 0. So that's pretty good for SoO, who is only 10 army supply behind at the moment, and in fact, does have that additional carapace upgrade.
It's funny, ever since the Ravager's been introduced in the game, it's allowed Zergs to actually have a way to force back an engagement that they would otherwise lose.
Yeah.
ZvZ previous to the introduction of the Ravager was a lot more bludgeoning.
Yeah.
You would get that lead and you would come in and you would just squash them. But with the Ravagers out there, you have to respect the Corrosive Bile.
Absolutely. They deal a ridiculous amount of damage if they hit, and it is splash, so you have to end up dodging those. Definitely makes ZvZ different in a lot of ways, but look at this move by ByUL here. He actually snipes the 4th base of SoO.
Yeah, the defense there for SoO a little bit too top-heavy, too centered around that 3rd base. The 4th base was naked and was destroyed with ease there. That's going to leave SoO on 3 bases to ByUL's 4. As we continue this game forward, it looks like SoO going to try to mop up the remaining roaches up there at the top, but of course the mutas are going to be able to drive them back pretty easily as well. From here, ByUL just stays back, gets more ahead. We have both players maxing out. However, the room for error, margin for error here is much lower here for SoO. He's not allowed to make any more mistakes because he's only going to be playing into ByUL's trap. ByUL now hunkering down here.
Yeah, it looks like he's using the supply trick here to get 207 supply. So he is really doing a super max at the moment. Really cool to see. And looks like SoO attacking in, but ByUL is just going to have more units.
Yeah, he's got Banelings over here at the north as well. If he can get those to connect behind and hit these Hydras, that would be huge. Roaches coming in right. Oh, kind of odd. He actually separated from his army. I thought he was going to go for the surround there. Actually, a lot more Roaches there for ByUL are picked off, allowing SoO to now get the supply lead. I don't know, though, if SoO can push any further.
This is kind of crazy that SoO's still smashed right there. Like, ByUL definitely making a couple mistakes, especially after that Supermax. He does have more income, but he's running out of gas at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point. And without that gas, the complexity of his army is just not going to be there. He's not pushing forward here with these Ravagers. There is a narrow ramp he can escape through the south here if need be. More Roaches now reinforcing supplies, getting very close. 130 to 120 right now.
Wow, even utilizing some Lings here is ByUL as he does run so short on gas. More and more Roaches on the way. SoO continues to push, but I feel like ByUL is just going to hold this and shove the SoO back.
That's right. SoO, I think, overextending by a little bit there. Now on the run, but these Roaches are able to catch up and pick off those slower Ravagers.
He's pushing him back a little bit further and then will retreat over to his main base. I don't know if the huge amounts of Banelings he's been making have really been working out. Like, sometimes we do see that do very well when it hits a big clump of Roaches, but this game, it felt several times like ByUL could have won, but maybe he had too much supply in Banelings that didn't do the amount of damage he was looking for.
Yeah, I basically agree with you. I don't think that was necessarily the right route, but I guess it really just does come down to the execution, right? Banelings, sometimes you get no value out of them. Sometimes they pay for themselves in dividends. But SoO is definitely still in this game right now. Supply is still very even. He has managed to skid his fourth base up here. Let's see if he can hang on to his third.
Yeah, big push coming in from ByUL. Neither player actually maxed out at this point. Looking at their drone counts, SoO actually has the better economy at this point. He did make his fourth base once again, so that's really important.
As you can see here, the Roaches now rotating up to the top because the expansions are getting more and more spread out. This does give a greater opportunity for you to try to get in, do some counterattacks, try to throw your opponent's rhythm off here or get them to defend the wrong locations. ByUL now scrambling to make sure the northern part of the map is secure, which it is. And he's now headed back to try to meet the potential army that could be heading his way in the middle of the map.
All right, moving down, Roach Ravager armies for both sides. A Hydra here and there in SoO's army. Good to keep that, just in case there's like a stray meter that flies over. You can also push the Overlords back slightly. But SoO's splitting up. Looks like he wants to get a little bit of a flank here onto ByUL's army.
Oh, this is a really good angle here for SoO if he can manage to push any further. SoO, though, still erring on the side of caution. A few more reinforcements work up. I don't know if ByUL's going to be able to secure that ramp down there. No, I think SoO may manage to actually push down that, but ByUL then rotates a little bit further here to the right side of the screen. Both of these fronts are pretty tricky for ByUL to win.
Yeah, you know what? The one up the ramp he couldn't win, but he started to win the one on the right, so it looks like SoO will pull back for this time. And he is taking an additional base as well. These bases are starting to get a little bit further out, so they're going to be easier to attack from each side.
That hatchery for SoO, by the way, now finishing one, a little bit north there of the third base. As SoO, really, I got to say, he was on his back foot for most of this game. He's doing a really good job stabilizing his time around.
Yeah, he's actually, like, over the long term, it feels like he's just done great defenses every time that these massive ByUL attacks came in. And that one big attack that was really weird after the Supermax that he just crushed, that was, I'd like to watch that battle again, to be honest, because SoO did a fantastic job there.
Looks like ByUL should be privy to the fact that there is a hatchery over there. We did see the creep spread get to that point in time. ByUL does seem to be looking for an opening here, but as he's attacking in, I got to say, he actually has a smaller army. He's going to have to outposition his opponent, not overwhelm him.
And in fact, this is a good outpositioning. Does move in with a huge chunk of army and then only leaves a few Roaches. And as the army is pulled down, he moves in with a really large piece of his army to try to hit this space. Only gets a couple drones, though.
Okay, meanwhile, SoO going to push back over here, but not to the number that ByUL has right here, right now. ByUL, you know, it's funny because for a while his supply was lower, but it almost looks like he has more. It's SoO that can barely hang on.
Yeah, tactically, ByUL is running around SoO in circles right now. Like, he's pulling his army all over the place and trying to abuse him at every turn, but now SoO has split his army into 2 really well-sized chunks and shouldn't take any more damage at those bases for now.
Okay, we have SoO a little bit more pushback here. ByUL is going to have to make sure he doesn't end up getting completely counterattacked here. Upgrades overall very even. We have 1 Muta on the way. Oh no, I'm sorry. There were actually a couple Mutas that just came out there. We had a glimpse of that at the bottom of the screen. The Mutas are definitely going to assist ByUL in trying to do this harass. I don't see enough to defend. It's certainly an easier task than most things in StarCraft 2 to outmaneuver the corrosive ByULs with the Mutas here. You can see almost like SoO is rolling dice right now, trying to just shoot the ByUL and hope that ByUL's going to miscontrol and glide into that. Meanwhile, an attack over here at the fresh expansion for SoO.
Wow, really good move again from ByUL, switching back into those Mutas and forcing SoO into an uncomfortable position. Still, SoO has a really big army. He might be able to hold on, but the concave goes right now to ByUL.
ByUL is just avoiding those queens, which are trying to defend over here, and as long as those Mutas are over that army, especially if their queens are not in range, that army is bleeding.
This is a crazy game, Tasteless.
It is. This is actually a really great ZvZ. We had several good ZvZs so far at this IEM here in Gyeonggi. The counterattack here from SoO, I don't know if he feels like he's being forced into this because he's gotten far out enough and the army's kind of there. But definitely we're going to have to see if he can actually do the damage he needs to, because this is a very important fight we have happening right here, right now.
All right, the Muta's actually hitting in the back here, trying to take out these queens while the rest of his army fights, but the Hydras come over and make quick work of them. Feels like SoO just has a slightly better army right now with those Hydras in there, dealing a lot of extra damage.
Okay, so far, so good for ByUL here. He is, oh no, I spoke too soon, excuse me. It does look like SoO has actually managed to breach the defenses. It looks like this hatchery is going to go down. Keep in mind that this expansion, very low on resources. It's basically dried up. So yes, you get the hatchery, not so much an expansion as it is a production facility.
Yeah, that's not a base that he really needs to mine too much from. It's pretty darn low at this point, but you know, SoO is just doing a great job. I think that was a great time to attack as well. When he made the Hydras, there was like 14 to 16 supply and Mutas that were just not going to be useful against the Death Ball, and he moved right in with that. But now ByUL rallying out a lot of Zerglings as well, trying to close on top of these units, maybe kill off the Hydras as well. Yeah,
right now they're low on supply compared to the location we are in this game, right? I mean, this game has been going on now for over 20 minutes, but we're at the point where they've had such an exchange. The skirmishes are getting a little bit smaller here, but ByUL definitely looking for some kind of an opening where he can come in here and maybe take out one of these bases, especially this base that we have. It's just north of this. Okay, there it is. That's out there, you know, and that's definitely a punishable location if an exchange doesn't go well.
You know, you're certainly right about that, and that's, you know, I love a lot of these maps that we actually have in this season, because even though, like, for instance, this map is kind of simple, when we get into this late game situation, it kind of ratchets up the amount of aggression that you have to see, because these bases do become closer and closer. Look at that. These bases that they're trying to mine from that are kind of in the center of the map, they are not far from each other at all.
Yeah, they're in some ways just expanding towards each other, which can always be a little bit uncomfortable, really, in any matchup when you don't have a location that you can kind of park that base and keep it safe. SoO definitely with a good angle to defend right now. That pit there, and then the structure just to the right and below it, it does act like a funnel, so it's much harder to get those roaches in there and do the damage. And roaches, they don't have tremendous range. Oh, this is a very exciting play. He's going to come up here right now, getting us around there on the queen. The drone's being used to defend. ByUL over here as well, out of position.
That's going to be some strong damage against ByUL. 4 drones already going down, as well as that queen, hampering his production even more. And SoO is pushing over, as a lot of units were sent to deal with just a small group of Zerglings.
Yeah, those Zerglings definitely paying for themselves in dividends as they come out there, starting to take out just a few drones. By the way, they don't have a ton of drones overall this game, 42 to 38. We've definitely had games where Zerg have way more workers, so every drone that is lost here is really going to hurt, especially when the armies are getting this beefy. Supply 181 to 155.
Yeah, SoO just has a much bigger army at the moment. It's just massive. Even has some Hydras still left in it for that extra damage. ByUL trying to come around and flank a little bit there, but pushed back immediately by SoO, who's playing positionally so well right now.
Oh my god, that hatchery is so low. SoO does not want to overextend. That was a tough decision for him to make right there. Ling's now coming up here for a counterattack up at the north, but does SoO have enough down at this very critical base on the right side of our screen?
The ByUL's landing all over ByUL's army, and this might be the end of it for ByUL. He lost a lot of drones in here, and he's losing his army. It's just getting picked apart by SoO. I think this is his final hurrah.
Yeah, some of those ByULs were absorbed in full force right there. SoO now with a way superior supply,
wow.
And ultimately ByUL taps out. That was a really well-played game there by SoO. Artosis, your thoughts?
My thoughts are that was a fantastic ZvZ. It felt like in the early game, ByUL outplayed SoO kind of massively.